So quite frequently, people have been asking me, Ugo, I don't really have anything in savings. I don't know where to start. This investing thing is all cool, but I don't understand. I got a lot of debts. I got a lot of my money is very tight. How do I even start to save, and how do I even start on this wealth journey building kind of thing? Because I want to, but I don't really know where to start. I was walking down the street. Someone stopped me, and then I think they saw one of my videos and they started asking me questions. I think I was out for drinks, and then she came for the bill, and then somehow we ended up talking about financial situation. And in the past, I've done a lot of like sit downs and money makeovers for a lot of different people. Not enough. It's a lot to put into a video. But maybe one of these days I'll do it with somebody and go over the process. But in this video, in the essence of turning hindsight into foresight, welcome to the video once more. This has been Tixi Membership Scheme, and my name is Ugo. I said this has been like the video is over, it's just about to start. So in terms of starting from zero, within this video we're going to talk about financial goals that you should set for yourself, and ways to get there, and the hurdles you see upon that way, and where you should essentially start, because everyone's journey is different. Now obviously, if you end up seeing to the end of this video, please hit a like. Thank you for taking the time to help and educate yourself, as I did educate myself, because none of us are amazing, but we get to where we need to be. So first and foremost, when it comes to saving and building wealth, there's two things stopping you. The first thing stopping you is you. The first thing stopping you is you. For example, for some of you, your issue is not that you have a saving problem, it's that you have a spending problem. And so your priorities doesn't align with you trying to change your situation to get more money into saving. Now the second issue you have is then your personal circumstance, which can hinder your how much you can save, as opposed to whether you're able to save. And then it limits your tools, because ultimately in this life we all have our tools, and a lot of times we complain about resources, but how resourceful are you being with the resources that you have? So we're going to get straight into the video, and we're going to start from zero. So your first financial milestone is actually zero. Now somebody may be thinking, huh, Ugo, what are you talking about? What do you mean zero? I'm talking zero. Now when it comes to saving, one of you guys, the biggest hindrance for you is the fact that you have a lot of debt. Now, depending on the kind of debt you have, may depend on what kind of priority that is. But typically, if you have a lot of debt that's getting into arrears, and you're reaching the point where you're getting creditors calling you and stuff like that, then you are minus, you're not in zero yet. So your first goal to get to is actually zero. Now, if you have debts that are over 4%, over 4 or 5%, then those ones you don't particularly have to worry about it, but it's about getting your situation in order. So if you can see a path to getting to zero, cool. But for most people, getting to zero may be hard. So what you want to be looking at is when you come to your debts, after you pay your minimum payments for all of them, then this is what we call our baseline zero. Pay your minimum basis, and then we can start talking about saving. If you don't have enough to pay your minimum payments, then you don't have enough to save, because you're going to get yourself into a lot of more financial problems. Now, typically as a rule, we do say that if you have your debts under control, and you have enough to pay your minimum payments, then the first thing you should do after that is save, because technically you should actually save before paying debt, because the reason why most people are in debt is because they didn't have enough money saved. So it's a vicious cycle. So you need to save so that you don't end up going back into that debt. So in between this video, I'll be sprinkling little things that you guys can do to get your spending in control, get your saving in control, and all of the above. So honestly, you should take notes, because I'm going to do minimal editing, just because I don't want to overwhelm with things on the screen. But when it comes to getting your spending in order, like I said in the beginning of the video, most times it's not that you have a saving problem, you have a spending problem. So there are two ways for you to kind of understand where your money is going to. Like I've said in multiple videos, you have a budget. Everyone has a budget. I don't care who you are, you have a budget. The question is, do you know the budget, or does the budget know you? So you can do this in two ways. You can either go to your last 3 months of your spending and go through that. Everyone feels that's a bit tedious. That's okay. Then either the second thing is you can use the budgeting tool that we created, that you can see a link for in one of the cards on the description, or will be at the end of the video for you to go and see. You can download that and use that to your advantage, or you can get a tracking software like Emma, which is really good. I use that as well, but I use my budgeting tool more because it is actually a bit more good. But Emma works very well in conjunction with both, so I would say use both. It's free for the budgeting tool. Once you kind of understand where your money is going to, then that is one of the first ways for you to kind of take control of your spending, because now you can reduce in areas that you didn't like, in areas that you wouldn't have control over, and then start reducing that. And then also in the second aspect of that, because everything financial is most times psychological, most times behavioral. So if you're spending a lot of in a certain particular area, then there's a reason. If you're spending a lot on takeout, it may be that you're not making enough time to cook, or you may not even know how to cook. If you're spending a lot on Uber, again, is it that where you're going is too far, you're leaving too late, or you're a bit lazy? You don't like TFL. I know some people don't like TFL, but listen, £4.50 on a day for the bus. Then again, Uber is quicker. Way to go. Listen, lifestyle. Check where you are in your lifestyle, because when I was at uni, I'm walking. Now, it depends. But now, straight into the second financial milestone is saving £100. Now, once you've reached zero, the next thing you should be aiming for is once you've saved your first 100. Now, once you've saved your first 100, give yourself a pat on the back. Once you make your first 100, you're on your way to financial wealth, because then if you've not had £100 in it, this should be specific to your savings. This is £100 saving, not just on make it then spend it. Net saving £100. This is your second milestone. So, in terms of actually, taking control of your spending, another aspect that people don't understand is that you've come to track your spending, and you kind of know where your money is going to, but then it's about being able to budget it. Now, the tool that we gave you gives you the ability to budget and to track your spending, but even with Emma. But once you kind of understand what your budget is, there's this concept of no. Learn how to say no. Honestly, no will save you a lot of money in this life, and there's two things about that. Just one, in terms of no, when somebody asks you, just to, not in terms of giving you money, but in terms of coming out every day, in terms of, the fear of missing out. If you can't say no to the fear of FOMO, you are going to have money problems, because you're always going to be putting your money towards some kind of event or something like that. Even in terms of borrowing, a lot of times you're not necessarily anyone's last resource. You're not normally anyone's last situation. So even though when it hits things, it seems dire, always look to try and see how you can, navigate that. And the second point of no is that if it's not in the budget, it's not in the budget. It's actually as simple as that. It is to say that you don't have money does not mean you don't have money. It means that you don't have money for this specific thing you are asking me for. So if it's if the purpose of this money is you need transportation, this purpose of this money is food for the week, purpose of this money is for you buying a house. If somebody asks you if you have money, even if the answer is no, unless you in your spare savings, then you have some to give out, or you can cut down in your food or a specific area, then it makes sense. But sometimes people, you hinder if you've not created your own foundation, you can't make 5 foundations at the same time with one cement. You make one foundation, and then on top of that foundation, you can make the industry to build another foundation. So don't be emptying your cup when you're able to fill it. So then the next milestone that you're trying to aim for is £1,000. Now understand, all of these can take a lot of time. I remember how happy I was when I technically got to zero. I was saving on the side as well as paying down my overdraft. And once you get out of it and you come into zero, you could be saving and be going for zero at the same time. But once net, in terms of your net worth, reaches zero, then your net worth reaching 100, then it reaching 1,000. Once you get to 1,000, you're like, wow, I actually made it to 1,000. Now, when you get that money, again, lock it away. That, anything on top of that, you can allocate that. But once you make your first 1,000, the aim is that you now have some money for security. Now, the aim of you save money so that one day your money will save you. So it's all about security out here. So you want to give yourself a foundation to survive on, because if you don't have any savings, then what is going to happen? The first time debt hits you, the first time problem hits you, the first time puncture tire, the first time battery flat, the first time anything hit, the first time finances issue, first time you lose your job, the first time you get that bill on your date that you didn't realize, then you're back in debt. So your next one is £1,000. Now, one of the happiest investments I've made since I moved into this place is this beanbag chair. Oh my days, it turns into a bed as well. Like, I've actually had a couple of naps on it, but like, so it's actually wow. Like, so in the vein of this, once you've reached your first 1,000, in terms of saving, then you want to be looking to invest. Now, for me personally, if you can balance paying down your minimum payments, saving and investing simultaneously, it is good. But then you should have priorities in terms of where you are. If you're in financial strain, then aim to get out of that. Get yourself on a financial basis, because most time if you focus on that, you change the behaviors in terms of investing yourself, in terms of changing those behaviors to get to a point where now that net wise you're doing better. Now obviously things change. Coronavirus, have I smelt my credit card a couple of times? Sure. Has my credit card seen the backside and me run away? At the same time, yes, at times. But listen, it can hit anybody. This life's not guaranteed. But in terms of investment, you've made £1,000. Now, not that you've made £1,000, but you've been able to save £1,000. Now, at this point in the juncture, you want to start investing. When you want to start taking some portion of your savings into investments, I just recommend go and put it into index funds, FTSE 250, 100, S&P 500, and then you can use other platforms like Wealthify, whatever, Trading 212, as I've spoke about. Here's what I use, and there's other things, Moneybox, all these things. Get yourself a lifetime ISA if you don't have one, and get yourself Help to Buy. Well, that's no longer here. But yeah, once you save your first 1,000, you want to start investing. And as you're investing, another way of trying to control your spending, this one here is one way that literally, if it doesn't change the way you see things, then listen, you're actually on your own. So if you look at how much you're spending in terms of how much time it took you to make that money. So if somebody is telling me, for example, let's say I'm making £10 an hour, and you're telling me to go and buy, a shoe, like 4 shoes, totaling £400. That's 40 hours of work, at £10 an hour, 40 hours of work. So that's a week of wages for 4 shoes. Now, for you, ultimately, is to weigh out the time I spent into making this. Is it as valuable? Would I go to, basically, I'll ask you this. If you spent 10 hours of work at today and I paid you in a shoe, would you be happy? If you spent 2 hours or 3 hours at work and at the end of it I just gave you a meal at Five Guys, would you be happy? if I gave you, for every hour that you work, I just gave you a makeup brush, or for a whole day's work, all I gave you was 5 dresses, would you be happy? So if you weigh out how much you are spending in terms of the time that you are actually investing to make that money, then that will better help you make better decisions in terms of how valuable is this to you, and also in terms of a concept called opportunity cost. Now, opportunity cost ultimately is what are you losing out, or what could be the alternative to using your money as opposed to what you're doing now, if that makes sense. It's just like, okay, I could use this 1,000, I could use this 4K or 5K, or let's say, for example, I could use this 10K to go and buy a new car, or I could use that 10K and go and put a down payment on an apartment, So what's the opportunity cost, and what could bring me more value? Now, obviously, it's contextual to your particular situation. Sometimes that car might be more valuable in terms of you might live in an area with poor public transport. That's fair enough. Buying that new shoe might be better because, the shoes you have are not ergonomical, they're hurting your feet. So this is actually saving you more money from health costs. But at the same time, do you need 10 of those shoes? So it's the opportunity cost of what you're spending. Now, when you think about your opportunity cost and you're investing, and once you start investing, you've made your 1,000. The next milestone is to get to your first month of emergency fund. Now, to save to your first month, your first emergency fund that will last, a month's worth of emergency fund. So emergency fund is that basically the amount of money put aside for your needs plus your wants for you to survive in a month. It doesn't include your savings. It may include if you have recurring debt that's going to last over the next couple of years. This is the money that you need to survive on. So let's say if you make 2K per month, maybe including rent, food, transportation, so that's accommodation, food, and transportation. And let's say any minimum payment so you don't go back into debt, that might total to be 1,500, if that makes sense, or 1,200 or 1,300, and the rest of that money you have there is for saving and spending. So £1,300 would be the amount of money you need to save for you to have 1 month's worth of emergency fund. Now this is the next step for you to go for. Now it can be a long time. It can take somebody from 3 months to a year to just save up 1 month's emergency fund, depending on how much money you have spare. So don't stress too much, but in this time you need to be putting up a minimum. In our budget calculator we give you a space for you to choose how much you want your emergency fund to be and how long we'll put, and then you put a minimum. So you now need to be saving towards your emergency fund, because in times like this you might have a job now. I have a job now, my job can go tomorrow. I work at Heathrow Airport. Planes be flying, but planes no be flying. Did you see what Europe said? Europe said, all of you man, don't come in. So I could lose my job. It could disappear. So emergency fund means that, okay, if these guys say, Ugo, bomba cloud to you, you're gone, then, I've got something to survive a month. So that's the next goal. So that's the next milestone. So you've made your first month emergency fund, So in the case of an emergency, then you're kind of okay. Now, one of the things about, ensuring that you can sort yourself out is that, this is a concept called pay yourself first. Now, I've spoken about it before, but it's essentially making sure that the first money that comes out of your account, 10% of your income, the first place it should go is your savings. Preferably a savings account that's not in the savings account, not in the current account, or in the same bank that you work with, because out of sight, out of mind. And so paying yourself first is that, most times when we get paid, we pay the bank, we pay our friends, we pay the church, we pay our family, we pay Five Guys, we pay Nando's, and all these things are well and good to pay for because people depend on us, and we are we're a community, we keep each other going. But if you haven't paid yourself, you should be tithing for yourself. So paying yourself first. Now, also in paying yourself first, you've made your first month of emergency funds. Now along the way, all of us, we have personal goals which are also financial goals. So you want to go on holiday, you want to buy a car, you want to take a guy on a date, you want to take a guy out on a date, because equality in that. So these are called sinking funds. So sinking funds are essentially savings accounts for specific reasons. So whether it be to whether it be to buy a house, buy a car, be a friend, these should be separate pots, and this is different from your emergency fund. Now you can start saving this from when back you have £1,000. But listen, you have to make a bedrock, because you have to understand that you need to save your money to save you, because in an emergency, hey, things could change real quick and you never know, So if you're not investing, if you're not increasing your investing at this point, in terms of looking at your savings, in terms of looking at paying yourself first, sinking funds, investing, all that kind of stuff, then if you've not made your first month, if you're not really saving at this point in time, remember, pay yourself first, and save your money so it saves you, because if not, things can happen quick, and just like that, you're gone. So you're taking steps now to try and get to where you're trying to be. So you've got in your first month the emergency fund, you made the 1,000. Now whenever I ask people, they say, I just want multiple streams of income, I want to be rich, I want to be comfortable. Now, we talk about goals, we talk about a lot of these things, but a lot of times when I ask people, okay, how much is comfortable, and they don't really have a number for me. So when it comes to trying to get your money in order, you kind of need to know where you're going for. Now you get the first 100, beautiful. You've got the first 100, beautiful. You're handling your debts, beautiful. But you know, at this point in time, you want to start defining what does success like for you. What does financially comfortable look like for you? Is it 50k? Is it 100k? What is that? What does that look like to you? So when it comes to that, define what success looks like for you. And also in terms of defining what success looks like for you, try to make your life easier. But you know, and when we say try to make your life easier, try to automate the process as much as possible. You know, it is better to have more than one account, as I've mentioned briefly in this video. Have multiple accounts where your money directly goes into. So when you now talking about investing, you should be investing more. But at this point in time, you made your first month, and then the next milestone that you should be aiming for, which could take you 5 years to get to, it could take you 2 years to get to, 3 years to get to, which is why at this point in time you are focusing more on investing. But the next milestone is to get to 3 months emergency fund. Now it could take you 2 years to get to this, it could take you a long time to get this, it could take you really quickly to get to this, depending on how aggressively you are saving. But the next stage is 3 months emergency fund. Now in between 1 month and 3 month emergency fund, you should still be saving and investing in other things. Now this is where the investing part comes into the play. So if you've already defined what success looks like for you in terms of by this age, or in terms of what comfortable looks like for you, putting a particular age is not, you know, it should be flexible, because if you don't get at a certain age, it is what it is. But what's it called, you should be investing more. Now when it comes down to investing, now this is when you should start looking at how many assets do you have in your life. So we've spoken briefly about net worth when we spoke about you getting to zero. The reason why you were below zero is because you have more debts than you have cash, and then hence you are negative in terms of net worth. So your net worth is zero. So now you've got your first month emergency fund. You need to start looking in terms of acquiring assets. Now the assets are things you invest in that provide you, you know, returns, money, or stability within income. So that could be in investing in stocks, or in terms of property, or in terms of starting a business, or in terms of capitalizing on you know, a skill that you have, or something like that. So you should be looking about how, you know, where am I trying to get to? Is it 50k a year? Is it 60k a year? Is it 100k a year? Now what investments do I know, do I understand, and can I get into to accelerate that wealth building aspect of things? So at this point in time, you want to start looking for how to increase your, you know, these assets, to increase your wealth and to now help you to get to those points, because ultimately those who stay wealthy as opposed to rich are those who have assets. Now once you've hit the 3 month emergency fund mark, then you don't need to worry about saving any much more, because at this point in time you should be, you know, in terms of overall, doing pretty well upon yourself. Now anything extra that you're getting should be savings for a rainy day. So obviously we said sinking fund, we've mentioned pay yourself first, we mentioned emergency fund, but you should always have a rainy day fund, just in case something happens that doesn't derail your plans from buying a house or buying a car. But there's money extra there to just play around with. You know, if something happens, or you go on holiday and you spend too much, you know, you need to dip into side. Those are the savings that you want to be going into. Now if you've been able to make up to 3 months emergency fund, wow, you've done really well. You've actually done really well. Now at this point in time, this is when you need to be focusing on investing. Now obviously along the way of this journey, you've had a lot of hurdles. Now typically I tell people this: you need to spend less, save more, invest more, you know, pay off debts, earn more, invest more, then worry about taxes. Now you need to spend less, but there's a maximum to which you can spend less. Like, you need to live a holistic life balance. You know, I don't say cut out everything, because you need some enjoyment in this life. Don't cut off all the moments with your friends just so that you can save money. Just change it from nights out to games night. You know, it's cheaper. You know what I mean? So you still get that quality time. There's ways of changing things, of like, okay, cool, instead of taking an Uber, I might leave 20 minutes earlier so I can take the train, and even it may be saving me £2 here and there, but in a week, that's you know, that's £14 in a year. That's X amount of pounds. So that's, you know, it's over £200 over a year. So those are little things. So you spend less, you save more. Now you try to maximize your saving by, cutting costs here, buying in, making sense when it's buy in bulk if it needs to buy in bulk, buy materials and stuff like that that can save you actual more money. For example, if you go to the shop, if you got like I like Primark, but when you go there, if you don't have an eye for clothes, you may buy trash stuff. So if you get the good quality jeans, for example, I've had some jeans that, oh yeah, it's been 4 years. Oh, and it just ripped the other day in the middle. Gotta get rid of that. But you know what I mean? You get a good pair of jeans, then you don't have to buy it. But I've also bought trash jeans from them that I've had to buy 3 times. So instead of me buying one, maybe that was £15, and spending £40 over the course of a year in terms of bad quality. So in terms of savings, your savings can come from a lot of places. Now you spend less, save more. There's a maximum to where you can save. Now, once you've finished saving what you can save, then you should worry about earning more. Now, we didn't mention this across the time of this video, but throughout your trying to get your income up, from the point where you've decided how much comfortable looks like for you, or rich looks like for you, or happiness looks like to you, then trying to increase your income is always the next step, because there's only a maximum you can save, a maximum you can reduce your spending to that reduces the quality of your life, and then it's about earning more. Now, once you start earning more and you've made some basis of your saving, you've got your 100, you've got your 1,000, then you need to start investing more. Like, invest. No one saves their way to being rich. No one saves their way to being wealthy. Like, it's about saving for the purpose of investing at this point in time. So once you've earned more, you save more. Now, as you're going along, always pay your minimum payments off of your debts and manage your debts. Your debt can be a very good vehicle to increase your wealth, but if you're not understanding about how to use debt, it's best for you to avoid it. Get a credit card, pay £50 on it per month, and then pay it off before the due date. This is not financial advice, but this is the one thing this banker told me. He didn't explain to me what a credit card was or what it was. He just said spend £50 and pay it off before the end of the month. He didn't tell me about credit score. You want to be protecting your credit score throughout all these things, because that's your financial CV. And if you think it's hard to get jobs now, think about how hard it is to get any financial services and live. Then investing more, managing debt, and then obviously thinking about taxes. So obviously, similar to how there's a maximum that you can actually spend less, there's a maximum to what you can save, and then to some extent there may be a ceiling of your earning, and besides what you can earn from your assets. But in terms of jobs and stuff like that, that's the reason why a lot of people go into consultancy, go into contracting, go into self-employed, because there's tax advantages from doing that. You pay less. If you start a business, you are creating jobs, so your employees will probably pay more tax than you, because it's almost like you've created. If I create 10 jobs for people and they're paying 20%, government looks at that business like, okay, you can pay 15 or 10, and there's ways you can go around it. So at that point in time, you go to an accountant. I'm not an accountant for you anyway, even though I know about these finance things, and then it's about worrying about taxes and how to be more tax efficient for yourself, and then just holistically make things a bit more simpler for yourself without reducing the quality of your life. There's a lot of tricks to getting your money up and getting your things together. Obviously, looking at your how much you're making and how much you're spending in terms of your time is probably one of the most effective ways to think about it. Again, in terms of the accounts you're putting in, take advantage of it. Take the time to find out what the highest interest paying accounts are, because interest is ultimately your best or worst friend, and compound interest can work against you or for you. And I'm not going to explain that in this video, because we've done a previous video about it. Now, in a future video, we'll probably tell you about, especially for students, how to you can use student loan and profit from that to accelerate your wealth building. But if you feel like you're going to be struggling on trying to save or reduce how much you're spending or stuff like that, a very big good trick that I'm going to tell you today, it seems a bit pedantic, but honestly, this will change. Now, one reason why I used to do this, it used to be back in the day, uni times, mom and sister's birthday, I pull out the credit card, I would spend, and then I won't even look at the statement until it comes out. Now, for a lot of you, you don't know how much you're spending because you're not checking for it. You don't want to check for it. You don't want to look at it. I understand you don't want to look at it. But look, for the next 30 days, I want you to look at your account balance every single day, twice in a day if you have to. You know, I want you to look at your balance every single day for the next 30 to 60 days. Now, when you're seeing it, the reason why it's harder when, you know, with our accounts and stuff like this, especially, you know, which was going to be my last tip of this video, which is use cash as opposed to using your debit or credit card. But now focusing on the debit and credit card, when you're using this, look at your balance every day. A lot of the time we don't want to look at our balance. We just know that the payment went through because we're trying to avoid what we kind of already know. Oh boy, you don't spend too much. But if you're looking at your account every single day, I'm telling you, every single day, like the morning and evening, when you see, oh, I had 1K, oh, I have 800, oh, I have 700, oh, I have 650, you see that, my money is really going down. And to be honest, when you get to the end of the month, you're going to be stressing. And that's good, because if you started to stress, then you're starting to understand what you're doing. Answer this question for me. At what point in time do you think people stress for money the most? Go on, tell me. Come on, tell me. The time when people stress for money the most is about the week before payday. Because most people have used most of their money before that week, before payday. So when payday comes, some of them are already in -0, so they're already in debt. So if you look at your account every single day for the next 30 to 60 days, I can even guarantee you, if it's no guarantee, you come back, you dislike this video, and I know shit, it didn't work for somebody. But you should look at it every single day, and if that doesn't reduce your spending, then you're not serious. And then if that's the case, then you come to the last point of this video. Use cash. If you set out how much you want to spend, if you know you have £200 to spend, then you use £200 to spend, and then, you know, you take out that money, you take out £200, you put that in an envelope, divide it up for the week, or put that in the Bible, put that in the book, take 4 envelopes, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. You take that envelope, you go to the shop when you're going out, you put it in your wallet if you're going out, and then, you know, leave your cards at home. Take your ID, but leave your cards at home, and then you know that rotting, I don't have no more money. And if you don't have no money, then you stop yourself from overspending, and most times you prioritize what is important for you to spend your money on. So ultimately, guys, it's about starting from 0, but even getting to 0 can be our trouble, you know. So there's getting to 0, 100, 1K, you know, emergency fund, free month emergency fund. At that point, it's all about focusing on increasing on your assets, investing, and trying to build your wealth and earning more in terms of the jobs you're doing, investing in yourself in terms of getting high income skills, and just continually and consistently do that, whereas at the same time managing your debt. In terms of savings, you have your sinking funds, you have your pay yourself first funds, you got your rainy day funds, and you know, you got your emergency fund, and these are all working in tandem for your success. You know, obviously learn how to say no. I hope you can go back to this video, watch it again, take notes, learn how to say no. Saying you don't have money for this, or you cannot afford this, are calm thing to say. I don't care. Honestly, I know it's not easy for me to say in this video, but I talk about things that I put in practice in my life, and at the same time, it did take, you know, it takes you courage to get to the point to tell certain people no, or get to that thing. If you don't know how to say no, not even just in a financial sense, but if you don't know how to say no in general, you're going to struggle a little bit. And obviously, there's people that it's harder for you to say no, so find a way to avoid them. Just avoid them. Just disappear. When the call comes, airplane mode. You know, airplane mode. So yeah, saying you don't have money in your budget or you can't afford it, it's fine. But look at your money in terms of how much time you actually did to acquire that money. Because if I worked a month to put all that money on 5 shoes, it doesn't make sense. You know what I'm trying to say? You know, whether it's a backpack or a chair or a TV, is it worth my time? But then again, opportunity cost. Was it going to give me back what I want in terms of value and in terms of happiness? If you have a spending problem in terms of you spend to comfort yourself emotionally, then again, like we said at the beginning, behavioral issues. You know, check your circumstance, check your situation, and realize where 0 is for you and how to get to all these financial goals. And if you're getting to all these financial goals and you get to the point where you're now building up assets, you know, if you ever go to your emergency fund, you think about building it up again. But, you know, if you're watching this video, you're taking the first right step, because that means even though I'm not saying that my video is the one that's going to help you get there, but you've taken the right step in the sense of that you're taking the measures for you to learn, grow, get better into controlling your spending, even if it's just to support this video. But ultimately, all of this is about turning hindsight into foresight, about supporting you to get to a point where you're wealth building. Don't get stuck into that hype of make money rich quick, financial freedom, financial this. Be smart about it. And ultimately, thank you for watching the video. I wish you a blessed day, a Merry Christmas. If this already happened, if this come out after Christmas, I hope you had a good Christmas. But I wish you a Happy New Year nonetheless. And if you follow us, we're going to help you achieve your goals in 2021 as we try to achieve ours. So I've been Ugo at Mr. Teakson. This is the Teakson Mentorship Scheme. If you're going to be a mentor as well, where we go into schools, secondary schools, youth clubs, you know, and also on YouTube, trying to help our kids to learn all these things. As we myself, I'm just a grown kid. No adult is a kid. If I'm adult, I'm not an adult. I'm just a young man, just living my best life. Still got do-rag. Imagine old man do-rag. If I saw my old dad wearing a do-rag, what would I say? I'll be a wagwan dad. You good, man? What you saying? But I'm playing. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. And yeah, enjoy. Take time. Love. Wow. You made it to the end of this video. That's interesting. Not a lot of people make it to the end of the video. So seeing as you made it to the end of the video, let me give you one last tip that I do for myself. You know, I kind of forgot while I was making the video that I do this to myself as well, which has actually helped me to save more along the way. But I tax myself. So, you know, just set up taxes for yourself. So I tax myself a week tax for £1 a day, £7 a day. It goes out each Monday. I've got like an emergency fund tax and a week tax in different ones for £10 a week. I've got a investment tax, and as well I also levy taxes for myself in terms of when I go out of line. So if for every time I was to, let's say, buy a lottery ticket, I would tax myself 5 times the amount. Any time that I would go out or not hit myself, set the goal that I set for myself that day, then I might put £1 in terms of my savings. So taxing yourself is a good way for you to like also accelerate your wealth, because ultimately whenever I set my budget for how much I need to spend per week, let's say I said I'm going to have £100 per week. £30 from there is tax. Sorry, about £34 of that is tax. So I think I've got £100 to spend, but it goes out on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. I just see it disappear. I don't even see it disappear, and then before I know it, I get to the end of the week and I've only spent like £50. So taxing yourself is also a way of tricking your brain, just like how you think you're earning 27k per year, but you're actually earning 22k per year or 21k. Just like how you think you're earning 100k per year, but in reality it's about 70k or something like that. So tax yourself. And for you that's made it to the end of this video, we really appreciate you. And if you could do us a favor and then just drop in the comments and write hindsight. You know, bear man will be a bit confused about, right, what is all this hindsight? Go into the comments, drop hindsight for us to know who are those that are reaching to the end of the video. So thank you very much. And yeah, again, have a blessed day. And hopefully the content on this cat channel helps you, your family, your friends out. Obviously, if you gain knowledge, share the knowledge. Don't just keep it to yourself. That's how we all get blessed. Because we're all blessed to bless each other. Take care.